I just don't understand how in 4 years of being on the Instagram platform, I have less than 2,000 followers. I mean, I give really good content, you guys. Like, I post nice photos and blog content and all this great stuff. I even post the Journey Through 30 videos. And they still don't get the amount of likes that I would like to get. My little ego is sharing with you all something very vulnerable that I'm sure many of us can relate to. It's about numbers. It's about likes. It's about, I guess, validation in some kind of way. Ooh, we gonna talk about it today. We gonna talk about it. God gave me this idea a while back about not worrying about the numbers. And we're gonna talk about this numbers thing in a few different categories that we as women face in our lives, and perhaps the men who are listening to can relate. So sit back and relax, take some notes if you need to. We're going to talk about numbers, not only on social media as far as likes and followers and all that unnecessary stuff is concerned, but the other numbers that actually have more importance in our practical everyday lives. This is your host, Tatianah Green, and you're listening to a brand new episode of Journey Through 30. Realize over the course of being on social media for 10 plus years that it's okay to have what you have, especially if you know what you're producing is quality content. Don't sweat the numbers is the name of this episode, because it means so much for us as millennials to understand that this numbers game that we often see in our lives is just that, numbers. They're digits. They don't really have that much value, especially when it comes to social media. So that's where I'm going to go first with this. Last year, I went on a social media fast because honestly, I was getting way too consumed with the numbers game. I was jealous of other people, like influencers, and people are doing their thing online, posting every single day. How do you do it? And I was just over here overwhelmed, stressing out, like I don't have a nice new photo to share with the world, when all of that at the end of the day it didn't really matter. And so I was taking my focus off of God, off of everything, so I can focus on this menial stuff. Like, I don't get paid to get followers, I don't get paid to get likes, so why did it mean so much to me then? So for that and a few other reasons, I went on a social media fast. Now I can make a whole episode about social media fast, and I will one day. But it was so beneficial for me because I needed that time away from the numbers game. I was getting too stressed, and it was making me compare my life and my journey to other people. And I was just getting overwhelmed. So God gave me a peace that I haven't had in a long time when I finally logged off of my personal Instagram account and took a break for a whole month. And it was challenging in some ways because I developed a habit of checking that. But God checked my heart because He showed me that I made it social media an idol, and I was making the numbers game be something that I was chasing after, like it was some prize, like it actually mattered in life. When y'all, it really doesn't, especially if you don't know what you're doing once you get those followers. There's some people who make a living off of being an influencer, and good for them. Not taking away from your business or what you do. But for everyone else who doesn't have that kind of job, don't worry about you getting like 14 likes, because the algorithms are going to change like every other month or so on these social media sites. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of them. They all change because of one thing or another in the social media industry. It's a whole industry now. They have conferences and everything, and they focus on how they can make us, the consumers, miserable. And so when they change the algorithms and we don't get as many likes as we used to, we go into a psychological frenzy. And so we just lose our minds trying to figure out, why do I get more likes? The likes, guys, the likes. The likes kept me alive. No, actually, God kept you alive. You were getting a little too concerned about the likes. So I'm telling from my personal testimony, if you get too consumed with the likes, if you're comparing your profile to other people's profiles, if you're getting jealous or find yourself obsessing over this kind of stuff, over these kind of numbers, you're focusing on the wrong things. And you may need to take a social media break. It may not be a month long, but you definitely should consider taking one if that's clouding up your mind and keeping you from enjoying the social media experience, because that's when we get into the area of abusing social media. And you want to have a good time with it. You want to give God glory with what you're doing, even on social media. So if it's taking you away from the opportunity for you to share your witness or give glory to God, guess what? You need to take a break. Come back, restart, refresh. Put up a nice new picture when God leads you to. All right. So when it comes to those numbers, we have to shift our perspective on those numbers. So that is the social media aspect. But let's talk about something that's a little more practical in life. Come on, y'all. Work with me here. We go talk about credit scores. Yes. Credit scores are important in our society because for some reason this group of anonymous people got together and declared that a 3-digit number would determine if you can get a car, a good job, and a house. I don't know who those people are. Somehow they made the system up that has got a lot of millennials in trouble. We are working on our credit slowly but surely. And I say we because I'm in this conversation as well. I used to have excellent credit, and then I got too many credit cards and kind of maxed them out with my poor spending habits and not budgeting correctly. I'm bearing my soul out in this episode, Jesus. But I'm sharing this with you all because it's so necessary for us to keep on top of our credit scores, but at the same time, not sweating about them. There's a reason why you don't want to sweat about your credit scores, because the credit score takes a minute to get up unless you have some major issue that you can alleviate right then and there. By all means, it will change. But if you have to work from the ground up to build your credit, child, don't get depressed or don't feel discouraged about this credit building journey. It's going to take a little while, and that's okay. Consider the many options that you can have to build your credit. Some of that includes improving the way that you pay your bills on time. Make sure that you get your credit cards or other debt payments to a low level where you're not using the whole entire card and relying on it for your purchases like I was at one point. But you want to make sure that your spending is at a certain percentage. They want to say like between 10 and 30%, and pay that credit card off. But don't cancel it, especially if you know you're going to use it again. Just pay off your credit card, but don't max it out. Definitely don't max it out, because that definitely affects your credit score. There's other ways that your credit score can get affected by poor habits. Definitely if you get too many inquiries on your credit score, that's if you're going to this place and that place, a job, a car dealership, a home kind of situation, and they all run your credit, that's going to hit your credit score so many times and you're going to see it drop. But I've seen on my timeline on social media people sharing their victories in the credit score arena where they've been knocking down debt and doing the right thing. And doing the legal thing too by getting their credit scores to go back up. So if you're in a place where you want to, let's say, buy a home of your own and you want to get your credit score up, look into ways you can prepare yourself to get the home while working on your credit score. In fact, if you are going to be a first-time home buyer, there are incentives for people who have decent credit scores. It doesn't have to be pristine. It doesn't have to be over 700 out of 850. You can get actual grant from the government to help you get your first home if you have a certain fair credit score. So look into that, do some research, but don't sweat the credit score number, because like I said, it's going to take a minute to get up there. And if you want better expert advice from someone who is more knowledgeable about this financial stuff than me, definitely check out the podcast, the website, the series, His and Her Money, and they will hook you up with everything that you need. They have free resources. They have episodes dedicated to credit and credit building and how to restore your credit and get to where you need to go so you can achieve your financial goals. I will share a link to their content in the description below. The next set of numbers that we tend to think about, as women especially, is weight. Yes, weight is a pretty big deal. And as I talked about in the previous episode about working on your health and your fitness, you want to keep your weight at a decent amount, or healthy amount, if you will, because you want to make sure that in the long run, you're extending your life trajectory and not bringing it down with the risks that come with being overweight or obese. Now, if you've been working on it, that's great. Keep going at it. It's going to be a process. But if you obsess with your weight numbers, then you could easily get discouraged, because we as women, we're constantly going to fluctuate in our weight depending on our metabolism, depending on our hormones, depending on that season of our lives that we're in. So just be considerate of that and don't get too concerned about that number. And also, we're in an interesting time. Like, if you've seen it on social media, like there's people who are body positive, and that can run a range of skinny to curvy to curvy plus, so whether you're a size 0 or a size 27, consider what you can do to love on yourself and work on yourself while looking good and taking care of yourself. I used to work in retail, and I would see like women who would obsess over the size of the clothes. Like, oh, I'm really not this size, or I want to be this size, regarding the number, being concerned about their weight and all that. But I always told them, and I still believe it, that no one's going to know that you are wearing a size 14 or you're going to wear a size 6 or whatever the case may be. What matters is, do you look good in that outfit? Now, a size 14 can make it work with a size 14 outfit or something like that, but they don't have to like make it known to the world, like, hey, I'm wearing a size number that I'm not happy with. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Are you well presented? Are you well put together? Is your waist snatched? Are you wearing things that accentuate certain parts of your body? Not in a way that would be immoral or immodest, but something that's going to accentuate your curves and accentuate your body and the features that you like to show. Consider that instead of the whole number that's on the tag that no one else is going to see but you and your dry cleaner. Don't sweat those numbers, because those numbers can and will change. Another set of numbers that definitely change without our consent is our age. Our age will change over time as we get older. It's changing right now as the seconds tick, 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 and talk on the clock. So I'm going on 31 and a half at this point in this episode. And I'm pretty excited, and it's weird at the same time that I'm well into my 30s. Like, there's no turning back, and there's no need for me to lie about my age. As I share in my book, Journey to 30, I'm not ashamed about saying how old I am or how young I am, actually. And my theory on that is, you're only as young as you feel. And on top of that, if you don't do anything that ages you, you'll be fine. So you need to take care of your skin. You got to drink plenty of water. You need to get your sleep. You got to not consume so much alcohol if you drink alcohol. And you should not be smoking. You should be putting sunscreen on. I mean, these are common sense things that help keep you looking young. You don't necessarily have to go off of age and make it seem like, oh, I'm so old, oh my God. Like, girl, you're 38, stop. You look good. I know people who are in their late 30s who don't look like they're in their late 30s. They look 10 years younger than who they are. There are plenty of people who are over 40 who look really good for their age. So don't sweat the age as the number. Let it be something that doesn't hold you back from achieving anything either. There's plenty of things you can still do, even if you haven't accomplished them at this point in the game. There's nothing too late for you to do. God will make it work for you regardless. All right? That is my 4 sections on numbers that I wanted to talk about. But the last thing I wanted to share with you is what Jesus has done with small amounts, with low numbers. What I learned recently from Matthew Stevenson, who's the pastor over at All Nations Worship Assembly in Chicago, he recently shared in one of his messages that don't ever complain because what you have looks small. God doesn't give people big anything first. So maybe you have a low amount of followers compared to your friends or your favorite people on social media. Maybe your credit score is not where you want it to be, or you're not happy with your weight or your size, or you're just trying to get your head around this whole I'm over 30 thing. Don't sweat the numbers, because Jesus can do amazing things. He had 12 disciples and it turned into hundreds and thousands after he left. He made it work with a little amount of fish and a little amount of bread and fed thousands of people. So allow him in your life to do amazing things with the numbers that you have and the numbers that you will have. When it comes to those followers, it all comes down to the quality of posts that you have. The quantity helps too, as far as being consistent about your posting. But at the end of the day, is what you're sharing for the numbers, or is it because God told you to put that up there? When it comes to your weight and your age, those change. It is what it is. But trust God and work on yourself so you can accept yourself for who you are as you're growing, as you're changing along this journey. And the credit score, I'm in agreement with you on a miracle. But in the process, you got to do the work that comes with your faith. A wise person builds up their house and builds up their credit. So if you're discouraged about your numbers in your life, consider this. We want to shift our focus to the present and find contentment in what we can do with what we do have. Just like the quote was saying, God doesn't give people big anything first. So if you don't have the amount that you need yet, keep trusting God to provide for you while you work on what you currently have, and find contentment there so he can trust you with more, because it will happen in due season. So that's all I have for you in this episode. I hope you got some inspiration to not sweat the numbers in your personal life. Is there a set of numbers that I forgot to talk about? If I did and you are concerned about them, you want to talk about them, share them in the comments below. I want you guys to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Journey Through 30 because we're moving forward, y'all. I'm trying to give you an episode every 2 weeks and try to keep it consistent here. So I appreciate every single person on here who's subscribed to the channel, and I will continue to post content. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for the shares and the love. I appreciate it. I hope you all have a great week as we go into the month of April. This has been your host, Tatianah Green, and you've been listening to Journey Through 30. Bye.